talk about one of the biggest, boldest, and frankly, weirdest plays ever written, George Bernard Shaw's Man and Superman. This thing is an absolute monster. For over 100 years, it's been both delighting and totally baffling audiences because it feels like it's trying to be a dozen different things all at once.
And look, that confusion started from day one. Picture this. Shaw reads the entire play out loud to his good friend, the brilliant social reformer Beatrice Webb. It takes him 3 whole evenings. And after all that, her final verdict was just not a play. If one of the smartest people in England couldn't figure out what to call it, you're in for a wild ride.
So that brings us right to the big question, the one Shaw himself put right there in the subtitle. What exactly are we watching here? Is it a funny, lighthearted comedy? Or is it a super dense philosophical lecture that just happens to have characters and a plot? Well, the brilliant thing is, it's both. Let's break down how he pulls off this incredible balancing act. So first up, let's look at the comedy. Because on the surface, Man and Superman is absolutely a witty, fast-paced, and, well, a deeply strange romantic comedy. At its heart, it's a chase, but the twist is everything. Here's that twist in a nutshell. You've got our 2 main characters, Anne Whitfield and the radical thinker John Tanner. But Shaw flips the script completely. Anne isn't some passive prize to be won. Oh no, she is the relentless hunter, and Tanner, this supposed revolutionary, is her prey. And he is literally running for his life to get away from her. Shaw himself called it a tragic comic love chase.
And believe me, this was no accident. Shaw spelled it out right in the introduction to the play. He wanted to show what he thought was the real dynamic of courtship, that the woman is the active pursuer, the one pulling the strings, and the man is the one being hunted down. So all the comedy, all the drama, comes from watching this incredibly determined woman track down her man who wants nothing more than to escape. And don't think this is just a bunch of clever people talking in fancy rooms. This play is packed with action. Seriously, it feels like a blockbuster. There's a high-speed car chase across Europe, Tanner gets kidnapped by a gang of philosophical bandits, yes, you heard that right, and the whole story is tangled up in social scandals and mistaken identities. It is just pure, hilarious fun. But just as you're getting comfortable with this wacky romantic comedy, Shaw yanks back the curtain, and he reveals this much deeper philosophical engine that's been driving the whole story all along. He calls it the life force.
So, what on earth is the life force? Well, for Shaw, it's basically this powerful, unconscious evolutionary drive. It's nature with a capital N, working through people to achieve its biggest goal, the continuation, and, this is the key part, the improvement of the human species. It's a biological mission that's way more powerful than what any single person might want.
And this is where Anne's pursuit of Tanner suddenly makes a different kind of sense. She's not just a woman who's got a crush. No, in Shaw's world, she's an agent of the life force, whether she knows it or not. Nature has decided that Tanner's brilliant mind needs to be combined with her powerful vitality. Their marriage isn't about their own happiness. It's an evolutionary strategy designed to create a better, smarter kind of human being. Okay, so if the life force is the engine of the play, then the third act is its brain. This is the famous Don Juan in Hell sequence. It's so long and so philosophical that it often gets cut from performances completely. But this is where Shaw really lays all his cards on the table. While he's on the run, Tanner falls asleep and has this epic dream. And in the dream, all the main characters transform into their legendary ancestors from the Don Juan story. Shaw structured this whole thing not like a normal scene, but like a piece of music, a huge philosophical opera of ideas, inspired by Mozart. The debate basically pits 2 massive ideas against each other, which are really just 2 sides of Shaw's own brain arguing. You've got Don Juan, who argues for what he calls realistic optimism, the idea that it's hard work, but humanity can and must evolve into something better. And arguing against him is the devil, who represents easy idealism, the cynical, lazy belief that humans are just hopeless, foolish creatures, and that hell is the only place they can ever really be happy. So at the end of the day, this isn't just some random dream. It's John Tanner's own mind, wearing the mask of Don Juan, fighting a battle for the future of humanity itself. Is progress actually possible, or are we just stuck making the same dumb mistakes over and over again, forever? So where is all this going? What's the point of the high-speed chase, the life force, this debate in hell? Well, it all builds to Shaw's most radical and, honestly, most controversial idea, the need for the Superman.
Now, first things first, forget capes and flying. Shaw's Superman has nothing to do with comic books. He's talking about a philosophically and intellectually evolved human, a new kind of person with the wisdom and the moral strength to finally solve all the huge problems, war, poverty, you name it, that our current version of humanity just seems totally incapable of fixing.
So why did Shaw think we needed such a radical solution? Well, because he'd completely lost faith in politics. As he writes in John Tanner's own little book, The Revolutionist Handbook, just changing our systems of government doesn't work. Getting rid of a king and putting in a democracy, for Shaw, that was just swapping one set of problems for another. It never fixed the real issue.
And this brings us to the play's really shocking conclusion. For Shaw, the only real revolution, the only change that could actually save us, has to be a biological one. The entire play, the comedy, the philosophy, all of it is one giant dramatic argument that we have to start consciously and deliberately breeding a better, smarter, wiser human race. So Man and Superman leaves us staring at this massive, uncomfortable question. Are we just not smart enough, not evolved enough to solve our own problems? And could Shaw be right? Is our only real hope for the future to stop trying to change the world around us and instead to focus all our energy on changing ourselves? It's a pretty staggering thought to leave you with.